Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are and when you are viewing this live. I am Chancey Heyward, one of the members of When Men Speak, coming to you from the platform of From Soul Pieces to Soul Peace, who we know is headed up by this beautiful young lady that I'm speaking with today, Miss Latanja Ingram. How are you, sis?
Oh, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am well. I am well. So today we want to, for those of you all who are embedded with From Soul Pieces to Soul Piece, you know Latanya in, I would say, a surface way. But today we want to give you an in-depth, behind-the-scenes look at the woman behind the vision of From Soul Pieces to Soul Piece. Um, So we're going to dive in and get to know this young lady and how we got here to this platform. What was the, uh, I'd say, the push behind the purpose, the push behind the call, the vision, all of those good things that you probably never heard of yet and want to know more of. So I'm going to kick it off like this. So Latanya, what
Yes.
does chilling look like for you? Or
Chilling.
shall I say decompress?
What does decompression looks like for me? It is so difficult to answer that question because I hardly ever get a chance to do that. But when I really get a moment to just decompress, what it looks like is me doing nothing, like disconnecting from my phone because everything is attached to the phone, personal
Mm-hmm.
and business. So you have to kind of just disconnect from the phone altogether and lay or be in a place of quietness and stillness. And that's very rare. In
Mm.
fact, I used to run from it because when everything was quiet, then I could hear what God is saying to me. And a lot of times I didn't want to hear it. So I needed noise.
So it's interesting that you say that because now I know a little more about you than probably most people just from our interactions with the platform. So that makes total sense to me that you say that. So because you've opened that door now,
Ooh.
so tell us at what point in your life, well, what was happening in your life when you receive this unction, this vision, this dream, this idea to pursue from soul pieces to soul piece? What was going on for you personally that caused you to stand this up?
Wow. I'm glad this interview is only a few minutes long because who knows what may happen just trying to answer this question. But to go ahead and answer it, I was in a very dark, as you said, most people know me on the surface, but internally, I was in a very dark place, a very wounded place. Um, and what really pushed this movement out there was an unfortunate incident between myself and my youngest daughter. It was it was it was ugly and it was physical. And I remember after it was calmed down and I went into my bedroom and I remember saying to God, where did this spirit come from? And he said, you. And I said, well, how do I fix this? And he said, go back to the beginning, which meant I had to go to what I believed was the very source of all of my pain, the source of my discontentment with myself, with life, and basically with everyone that I ended up interacting with. I did not know how to have relationships, friendships, business relationships, intimate relationships. I just did not know how to have them because the foundation of relationships for me was broken. It was a mess. And so I ended up somewhat repeating that. And I saw that my children were probably on the trajectory to repeat the same thing if I didn't do something about it.
Absolutely. I totally understand that. And that has been the story of so many of us in the African American communities. When we look back on the fact of our parents were so fixated on surviving, so fixated on fighting, that we didn't get the other side of the coin where therapy comes in and balance comes in and all of the things that we now understand that's so vital to the family unit. We didn't get. So it's easy for us to fall into that reciprocal piece of the things that happened for our parents and even in our own childhood, becoming repetitive for our children. So good on you for seeing that, taking that step, taking advantage of that, even though it kind of got a little ugly, but not going down that road for too long. So how is the relationship now?
It still has it has its issues. I don't expect for the revelation about what I needed to do to mean things would be easy. However, as opposed to running, which is what I was customary to doing when things just didn't seem right, I'm standing in it. I'm going to stand in the place of being uncomfortable, holding difficult conversations, not always the one that's talking, but listening. And listening can be very difficult, but it's therapeutic as well. You don't even know what to address if you won't let people say what it is that they're feeling and how you are the reason behind what they're feeling. So though that relationship is not where I want it to be, I can say that restoration has started. And so I'm here for it.
Amen. Awesome. So now with that, so the people will know, what is the vision, or shall I say the mission statement behind the platform?
In short, it is building a community of strong women. The mission is basically in the name. I so long existed with my soul, my spirit just fragmented in pieces. I didn't know what peace was. Outside of seeing the word here and there in the Bible, I did not know what that entailed. And being a grown woman, this incident that I just referred that occurred with my daughter and I was in my 40s. This was less than 10 years ago because the organization has been formed since 2016. So it's just been within the last 10 years that I have decided to pursue this piece, because my life from birth has been about chaos. I've existed in chaos for so long. I didn't like it, but that's where I was comfortable because that's all I knew. And so I realized that there was so much more to this life. And not only that, I kept running into women that I saw myself in. I saw myself in these women, and what I saw in them was what I had previously been living which was just to accept it for what it is. Nothing can help me. I've got to just ride this out. And that's a lie. It's a lie. So from Soul Pieces, Soul Peace was formed to provide tips, be an example to women that regardless to where you started from, what your foundation was, you can't change what happened to you, but you can certainly change how you respond to it.
I like it. And I love the fact that although, as you said, everything for you isn't where you would like for it to be, you don't allow that to stop you from still trying to help someone else and build and encourage and uplift others simply because I'm not there yet. We can still help others even in the midst of trying to get there ourselves. Just bring them along with you. So I love the fact that you're doing that. So as we prepare for your next seminar, plug in Savannah, Georgia on January 27th, called The Resurgence, what is it that you would say that qualifies you for this?
That's a fully loaded question. This may sound cliche-ish, and it's not really deep, but it's the truth. It would be my experiences.
Absolutely.
We can, as we interact with people in the world, we can come in contact with people that we realize we have a lot of similarities. As you mentioned before, particularly those of us who are minorities, a lot of us have some of the same foundational backgrounds. And when we meet people that can identify with our trauma, you know, we're like, oh yeah, I experienced that too. And it stops right there. No one starts a conversation about how to address those triggers and address a conversation where you're not just identified by your trauma. I don't want to be identified by my trauma. I want to be identified by my success and what my success in living past those traumas, not letting them identify me, but I become a staple for what you do. So you're not identified by those traumas. And so the resurgence is really for women who may have started a healing journey, but because it got heavy and hot, they quit. Again, reverting back to that old mindset. You know what? This is the best it's going to get. I can't change it. This is just how I am. I really hate that statement because you can be whatever you want to be if you put in the work. And trust me, it's work. It is work. There are many days that I want to stop, not quit. For me, quit is kind of final. To stop means I may pause for a minute and regroup or decompress, as you asked me about earlier, but I'm going to get back in it because I see the purpose in it. There is definitely a need, and I see the purpose, not just for other people, but more so for my life. For 42 years, I lived in chaos, as I mentioned earlier. I want to know what it's like now, and I'm experiencing that now where I'm okay being by myself. I'm okay not being a part of a group or a club. I can stand to sit in silence and hear the internal thoughts that are going on inside of me and address those things that I don't like, address those things that that could end up being, you know, problematic for my life and my seed. Because at this point, I'm constantly thinking about my seed, not in my seed, because I am a grandmother, not wanting them to necessarily experience some of the things that I've already gone through. They're going to have their own journey that will be speckled here and there with trials and tribulations, but they don't have to repeat some of the stuff that I've already done. That's not necessary.
So important that you mentioned that, because as we can see now in the present day, so many of our mothers and even grandmothers today are so much younger than what we grew up being used to and being accustomed to. I mean, grandmothers back in our day were old women, you know, I mean, 60s, 70s, and who didn't play and didn't take no stuff. But now we see we got grandmothers that's in their 30s and 40s, you know, so haven't really, I don't want to downplay it and say they haven't been through anything, because certainly they have, but I'm looking at the level of wisdom, the level of knowledge and understanding that you bring to a family, that you bring to grandchildren in that sense. So what you're doing is so vital to our life today as it is. So thank you for everything that you're contributing, and that you're allowing your experiences, as you say, to lead that. You know, and one thing I like what you said earlier is about the listening aspect, because my children were here for the holidays. My youngest is 20, and one night I think we stayed up to like 1 or 2 in the morning, just me, mama, and the boys, and just conversating, just allowing them to just pour out. and it's so important to have those conversations where, of course, I know your dad, I know your mom, but letting them just be free and transparent and open to just lay it all out there, and not be so judgmental and parentish where they can't be that. And And I remember my youngest son saying that when he comes home, this is his safe space. This is where he can, you know, kind of take a break from the rest of the world who's judging him, accusing him, and the you know, all that stuff. And so it's important to have that. So thank you for what you're doing in this space, because it's so needed.
Absolutely.
So
I think
Latanja,
if I could share this really quickly,
absolutely.
we are, especially for parents, for those of us who've been through something and now we have children, and our focus has been, I don't want my children to experience what I experienced. So sometimes we try and overcompensate, and we want to look like the hero, the one that's never been through anything. I spent some time with one of my children, because all of my kids live in different places. I spent some time with my son and my grandson in Augusta, Georgia. And I saw the place where my son was, and not necessarily happy with that, but opposed to, you know, wagging a finger at him. I wanted to use myself as an example. And I remember sharing this with him, which the depth of it will be included in my book, which shall be coming this year. It's just been peeling back layers. So this is a continuous process. But nevertheless, I shared it with my son. I remember being in middle school, probably 12 or 13. I was someplace I had no business being at that age. At that age, you would think that a little girl would be very guarded from the things that are happening out in the streets, out in the world. Your parents are really looking over you to make sure that you're safe. Well, at 13, I chose to get in a vehicle with a gentleman who was out of high school. I can't remember his age right now, but he was out of high school. And myself and a couple of my friends and cousins that I used to hang with, we would ride with him occasionally because he was the one with the car. We couldn't drive. We were 12 and 13 years old. But in hindsight, he was a creep. Nevertheless, he just chose me this particular day and asked me if I wanted to go for a ride. I've always loved riding until this day. I love just getting in a car, whether I'm on the driver's side or the passenger side. Listen, I was in Pensacola at the time. We ended up driving to New Orleans, which is a 3-hour ride away. I had no consciousness, no wherewithal of the danger that I was in. I'm just riding, looking at the trees and enjoying what I see, listening to music. And this guy said something very inappropriate to me, and the doors locked. All I heard was the clink and saw, you know, the lock go down. And when he said what he said, I've always had a slick mouth. I said, over my dead body. And I jumped out of a moving car. Sometimes the thought of that brings me to tears. God is so good and so gracious. I was 3 hours away and 2 states away from home, which should have been my safe place. But because I didn't feel safe there, I looked for safety in someone that certainly cared nothing about me. I jumped out of a moving car, and this person kept going. They didn't come back. A truck passed me that was full of Caucasian guys. They started hanging out of the window, da da da. And I said to my son, they pulled over and began to back up. But it had to be, I believe it to this day, it had to be the Lord showing them something different. And they decided to pull off. I don't know how I was going to get home, Chauncey. I was 3 states away and 3 hours away. Another vehicle pulled up, and it was an older gentleman. I just felt compelled to get in this car with him. I didn't say anything on the way home because I was scared. And mind you, I'm leaning on the passenger door with my hand on the handle just in case I got to jump out again. He said to me, I have young daughters, and I tell them never leave home without money to call your parents. I never told him exactly where I live because my mother would have beat the brakes off of me had she known. But he made sure that I made it home safe. Had not the Lord intervened, I could have been another young girl somewhere dead in the marshes of New Orleans. And when I think about how God saved me, though life was horrible before that, and life was horrible for many years after that, until I decided to stop blaming people for where I was. I didn't get myself there, but what that taught me was if I keep holding this grudge and keep nursing and recycling this hurt, I wasn't going to live my potential nor my purpose. And so many people are attached to my purpose. I must tell you that I am afraid to be out front speaking. I've never liked public speaking. I avoided it throughout high school. But I've decided whatever God says is for me, it's not just for me. It is for me to share with other people. And it will be so much that won't be revealed if I look at all my deficiencies and continue to hide behind the scene. So with that being said, I've taken that second chance at life because there was more than one, but that one was really profound. That one was really profound because I was 13. At this point, somebody's supposed to be leading me and making sure that I'm safe. And I was with the predator. Let me just end this by saying a year later, or just under a year later, that same individual went to prison for molesting a young girl. It could have been me. It could have been me.
Man, and that goes back to the question I asked you earlier about what qualifies you. There it is right there. You said it, experience. Because I'd much rather listen to someone or take my mentorship or my tutelage under someone who has been through the storm than someone who has the PhD or the master's. Because to me, you've got the t-shirt. You've been down the dead end roads. You've been down the roads that lead to nowhere to tell me, Chancey, that road right there leads to destruction. That road leads to success. That road leads. And so I'd much rather sit under someone's teaching or tutelage or mentorship like that than someone who just has the title, has the degree. Right. That means nothing to me at the end of the day. So amazing, amazing. So you said something, or let me get back to the call vision from soul pieces to soul piece. Mm-hmm. Because of your experience, because of all the things that you've had to face as a young woman all the way up to now, you're still a young woman, from a little girl up to now. And you say this started in 2016.
Yes.
What would you say is the greatest challenge in trying to pour into other women?
Getting out of my own head. And I've said this before, since we've been on this interview, my deficiencies keep screaming at me. You're not ready. You can't do this. You don't know how to do that. You're not qualified. Because at one point I thought I needed scholarly titles. I needed several letters behind my name that would qualify me. And to be honest, I'm not from a lineage that has a lot of education, that pushed a lot of education. And so I looked at where I came from, my natural bloodline. In my mind, that disqualified me. There's no way I can do great things because no one in my family that I can immediately put my hands on have done a great thing. And so my biggest challenge has been getting out of my own head. Now, I've gotten better since 2016, but when I tell you, there are times that I have to go back to that, decompress, stop listening to this voice. I have to focus on the purpose. And when I focus on the purpose, I'm able to make headway. But if the voice is in my head, these negative thoughts, and mind you, as long as we're dwelling in this flesh, there's going to be a struggle. But at this point, those voices are no longer louder than my purpose. There's still a challenge. The challenge is always there. But the biggest challenge with doing this is minimizing my deficiencies. It's nothing supernatural because there are a lot of things that I feel like I couldn't do or know I couldn't do. I had to become an autodidact and learn those things. I had to learn how to become an orator. I had to learn how to fashion my mouth to say words clearly, to speak slowly and a little bit more clear. There are some things that I've had to do behind the scene so that people would not be distracted by what I look like, what I sound like, and things of that nature, so that they can get the message and not necessarily be focused on the messenger.
That's right. And I'm glad you said what you said in the challenge, because and it's you, because I want to make sure the ladies who come to the conferences and listen to the podcast and listen to everything that you put out, they need to understand that for themselves as well. Get out of your own way. There are resources. There are women that are out here trying to help, that have been down those roads, that know what you're dealing with and know what you're facing, but you can't receive it if you're in your own way. You got to get out of your own way. And we wanted the people to hear your heart and some of the things that you've been through and experienced, so that they know that they're not alone. They know that they're not the only ones going through those things, and that there are folks out here who want to help you, who want to walk with you and walk beside you through your process as you move to what you call success on an individual level.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. So, wow. What can you say to those who may not know? Tell us something about you that we don't know.
Ooh, something about me that you don't know. That's a laundry list, actually. Um, Something about me that people don't know. That I get the feedback that I get from a lot of women that I do interact with via this platform is that I'm so strong, and what in their view what I can do. And honestly, I've learned again, because I became an autodidact to the things that I wanted to perfect. Self-taught is what that means, or did the work. Um, Utilized other platforms to perfect some of the deficiencies. I had to name it, identify those deficiencies, not be embarrassed by them. But look, girl, you can fix this. This is fixable. So the thing that people don't know is I can sit in your face and smile. And on the inside, I'm like, okay, guys, so what am I supposed to do? How do I say this? Okay, calm down. Calm down. It's okay. Process what's happening and stand in it. And I did mention that earlier. I have to keep referencing that because I've always been a runner. I've ran from every challenge. I've ran from every responsibility. I've ran from everything, Chauncey. The last 6 years is when I've decided to just stand in it. Sometimes I'm standing there crying like my 9-year-old grandchild. But when I finish crying and dry my eyes, get up off the floor, whatever it is, whatever posture I find myself in, I still have a yes. Okay, I'll do it. If it seems like nobody is supporting, I'm like, okay, God, because I believe in the purpose. I absolutely believe in the purpose. So what people don't know is I'm a basket case on the inside. I'm just committed to the purpose.
You know, I think it's important to mention this because it plays into what's happening on the other side of it. But share with the people what your professional occupation is.
I am by training, I am a nurse. Currently back in school to get a higher degree in nursing. Um, I was also in Bible college because I wanted um, to be able to counsel people from a professional perspective. You know, when people decide to employ a therapist or a life coach, they really should do their due diligence by ensuring that these people are qualified, not necessarily that they need degrees, but we're more than people who just want your money and just to sit and talk to you and learn your business. I'm so focused on people living in this healed and whole part of them. I'm doing some work over here. So my interaction with every person that I meet there's a purpose to it. We're not just meeting just because. We're meeting with purpose. I want to leave something with you when we depart. If we're friends for a year and after a year we just decide we're not friends anymore, I still want that person to be able to say that I left something valuable, that is, with them. Them meeting me was beneficial for them. And so I'm a nurturer by nature, not just as a woman, but as a nurse. I do have a couple of businesses. I've been an entrepreneur for years with several businesses, and I plan to occupy until the Lord returns.
You better know that. And the reason why I ask that question is because I'm a firm believer in your gift making room for you. And many people don't understand what that means. But being a nurse, that's the gift of helps. And that has transposed for you, not only in your professional field, but also in your calling per se, outside of your profession, in the from soul pieces to soul piece of it as well. So I say that, and I mention that so people can know that, you know, your gift doesn't necessarily just make room for you outside of the workplace, but also in the workplace.
Right.
Whatever God called and gifted you to do, you can do it everywhere. It's not just limited to your extracurricular thing that you do, but also in the professional aspect of your life as well. I believe however he's gifted you, that should be the way that you receive your income, your living. And you're doing that. You're doing that through the nursing. You're doing that through through your businesses, and you're also doing it through this platform, because it may not be a financial receiving that you're getting from this, but you're getting a lot of value from this, because you're giving back to others, and that's in turn gonna fill your tank as well. So, man, now I know initially when we talked about this, we said 15 to 20 minutes. Now look where we are.
I know.
We're 35 minutes, and it feels like 5 minutes, because I just getting to know the person that you're partnering with, that you're being in communion with, I think is important, that they know and hear this from you, to know who you are, because in all the years you've been doing this, you've been doing Meet the Speakers, but not for yourself. So thank Marquis for this idea and vision to do this, because I think it's very imperative that they hear from the lady behind the scenes. Now, I don't say again.
If you could take a look at the private message before we close.
Oh, okay.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh yeah, get ready for it. So before we end this, and we got to go a little deeper. So you spoke about, let's go back to the incident of the getting in the vehicle and riding to Louisiana. So now, at your ripe young age, now you look back on that and even other choices that were made. Talk to us about what you identify as being the root cause of some of those decisions and choices that you made back then.
I was an angry child, very angry. For years, I was angry. It didn't really matter what accolades I may have gotten. And I'm saying that because even as a little girl, I remember adults, which is really funny because there's a balance of both. I remember hearing adults saying, "Oh, you're so beautiful, you're so pretty." And then I also heard adults say disparaging things to me and about me. And again, I just didn't feel like there was really anyone there to protect me during those times. I am the product and I have family on here, so I don't want to, family that supports me too. And so I don't want to marginalize my family because we're in a great place now. But the fact remains that my beginning was terrible. There were a lot of emotional scars, and they don't disappear. They remain. It's just that I don't respond to them the way I used to. But nevertheless, my mother was very young. My father was several years older than her. Um, I think my mother had different plans. The intent for my conception and birth didn't yield the end result that she wanted. And when I was a month old, she left me with my grandmother. My birth father, I did not meet until my 13th birthday. I knew who he was just by way of conversation. And my hometown is very small. So, in fact, what I've learned in doing my research, everybody knew, nobody just spoke about it. We're going back to how a lot of us were raised. Nobody said anything. And I heard people say stuff. I heard my mother and my grandmother talk about him. But I always wondered why he didn't love me. What was it about me? And every time I looked in the mirror, I saw an ugly child. I thought I was ugly. I remember praying to God, God, please. I thought I was ugly, but then again, I thought I was cute too. So when I saw myself, I was like, I don't know why nobody likes me. I'm not ugly. Why doesn't my father like me? It was so bad that at one point we lived in a duplex. We lived on one end, and my birth father, my bio father, and his family lived on the other end. And I saw him interacting with my other siblings, holding them up. This picturesque thing in your mind that you see on Lifetime movies and commercials where the father is lovingly holding the daughter up in the air. And that hurt so bad because that's all I wanted. So it was really hard for me to grasp how anybody could love me if my mother and my dad didn't. And so I was angry. I'm sure along the way I met genuine people, but no one, it didn't pan out because I was angry. And so my anger, I was hurt, but it displayed itself as anger and bitterness. And that was the reason why I looked to belong. I looked to be a part of, and I was very gullible at a young age because I just didn't have a firm foundation. My grandmother did what she could, but she was grandma. She wasn't mom. She wasn't dad. When you're in school and you hear other children talking about their mother and their dad, and dad showing up and mom showing up and mom coddling the kid when the kid hurts, I didn't have that. And so I was very angry and bitter as a result. And that's really the foundation to a lot of my decisions. I made a lot of bad decisions because of my foundation just being a mess. It was a mess.
Yeah, that's why I think it's so important that when you're trying to help people deal with anything in life, you got to get to the root of the cause, the root issue, the root cause of what got you there, or how did you get here. And until you identify that, you can't move forward with healing, with counseling. You hadn't identified what the root cause of it is. So, so many of us have that story. And as you were speaking, the thing that came to me was present but absent. So the physical presence is there, but yet you're absent. And I grew up the same way. My father, my birth mother were both present in my town, but I wasn't raised by them. I was raised by my mom's best friend and her husband as their own. So I know exactly what that feels like. I'm sure there are a lot of others who can identify with that as well. And I think that's what qualifies you to do what you're doing.
And I realized that my story is not an anomaly. A lot of people can identify with certain aspects, if not, a lot of it. The thing is what we do with it, because a lot of us internalize this stuff and we don't become better as a result. We're just bitter and we'll pass that on. But I've chosen to just look at things head on, forgive all the persons that were involved. And now, you know, I have a great relationship with my father. I have a great relationship with my siblings. My relationship with my mother is good in the fact that I don't see her as the problem. She did the best she could with what she had
Yeah.
at the age she was. She was a child. And so, even that, though, it takes healing to be able to forgive people who intentionally hurt you and people who had no idea. Sometimes, if we have these difficult conversations, you will realize some of these people didn't even know what they were doing had that type of effect on you. At the end of the day, your healing and your peace is your responsibility. It's our
Absolutely.
responsibility to do something about it. And I just choose to, now that I know the abundant life is something that's promised to me, I want that. That's what I want.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. I agree. And you know, I even tell my kids this, you know, it's not about what you go through, it's what you do with it, as you said, because when we all look back over our life, we all have things that were negative and positive. But the key is that you can use all of it, because
All of
even the negative things, I use that as, hey, here is an example of what not to do with my children, with my associates at my job. I mean, everything we get, we can use it. But I don't think
it.
we have that perception to see it that way. We just see it as negative, and I throw it away, and I don't want to be reminded of it. I don't want to. No, use
Right.
all of it. All of it is for your betterment. All of it is for your growth and your development, so that you don't, one, repeat those bad behaviors, but two, you pass on something different to those that are under, you know, your leadership and authority. So, absolutely
Absolutely.
agree. Now I want to ask our viewers, for those who are joining us, please post your questions if you have any, in the comments. We want to go into a Q&A with Miss Latanya to address any concern or question that you have that you want to ask. Maybe you wanted to ask and you never had the opportunity to. Uh, Here, so
Let me pray on these
no,
questions.
you all right, sis? You all right? You all right? So, some made the statement, "Women need strong women." I absolutely agree with that, because just like we tell our spouses, men do, like, they need mothers, but mothers can't raise them to be men. You know, you
Right.
can raise them what to expect, from a woman. You can tell them, you know, here's how you treat a woman, but you
Mhm.
can't raise them to be a man. So, I believe the same applies with women. They need strong women in their lives. So thank you,
Even
Miss.
in Sure. Even in that statement, women need strong women, we do. I think we probably need to just tweak and adjust the perspective on strong women. Don't expect that strong woman not to have faults. Don't expect
Yeah,
that strong woman not to have weaknesses. In fact, to be able to verbalize those weaknesses is one of the things that makes her strong. Because that doesn't mean, a strong woman doesn't mean that you're faultless. Is that you can identify your faults and you hold yourself accountable, because this present age now is all about a facade, this facade of perfection. I've never
mhm,
been through nothing. Everything is well in my life. My family is perfect. I come from good lineage. You know, like we were put here with no fault. I got scars, literally and figuratively. And at the end of the day, I look at them differently. Those scars are what made me strong, because I survived. I survived the dragging. I survived the jumping out of the car rolling. I literally have scars that would testify. I survived the, at some point in my life, I had anger that I did not know how to direct. And so there was a moment when I just put my hand, I just punched this window pane and slice my arm open. So a lot of times when I'm doing skincare and I look down at that point, I'm like, God, I sure thank you that I'm not. Thank you for keeping me out of prison, God, during those times when I just did not know how to control my anger. So
yeah,
it's great to be a strong woman, but just recognize that strong doesn't mean you don't go through things. You got to give
yeah,
yourself space to not be strong. And in that, you're still showing yourself strong, because you go do what you got to do. Strengthen
yeah.
yourself, replenish yourself, and then get back out there and do the work. That also identifies a strong woman. Thank you, cousin. I
Yeah.
see you. Yes,
Somebody
ma'am.
said, dude, you really have to be strong though. And I think it goes back to what you said in really defining that, what that means and what that looks like. Because yes, we know that we can do it. We know that our women, as our, especially our Black women in general, are strong women, you know, built that way. But just because I can do it doesn't mean I want to do it all the time by myself. You know, I want a partner beside me to help me carry this load. And I want to just be the woman sometimes and not have to carry my load, your load, and their load. Yes. So strength, strength in the faith, strength in your determination, strength in willpower, strength in your womanhood. Yes, I want you to be strong in those things, but like you said, sometimes it's important to be strong enough to sit down, be strong enough to take a knee sometimes, be strong enough to know how to decompress and know how to get away and love on self, you know, and give yourself that spa treatment for the weekend and cut everybody off to
Right.
come back for yourself, for the people that you serve, for your at your job. You can't be all things to all people all the time. You just can't. And that is strength, I believe.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree with that.
So the next question is, what does strong look like opposed to weak?
Ooh.
That's a good question.
Ah. I think we basically just summed that up though. Life
Seems
is
like it.
a life for all of us. And so there are moments when, you know, things are coming at you and you know what, you're meeting it head on. Okay, all right, I got it. I see you rather, and I got it. And then there are times where weakness weakness can look like just giving up, really. It
Mhm.
can look like, yeah, just giving up. Weakness, a lot of times, if we look at some things closely, has led to suicide because
Yeah,
life has become too much for people. It's too much. They don't see a way out. I also I have to say this though, not just for women, but because the platform is about women, it is great for a woman to have a safe space or a safe place she can go to, friend, spouse, whatever, whomever, because there's nothing like crawling into the arms of someone and let them just embrace you.
yeah,
You know, sometimes that in itself, whether they're words that are said or not, that's healing and it's therapeutic. We did a seminar some years ago down in Miami, and one of my aunts came. And at the end of the seminar, you know, the floor was open for people to just, I think we called it at the time TMI, which was transparent moment. And I can't remember what the I was for. But my auntie came forth because she knew a lot of my struggles. She came forth and she said what she had to say and she hugged me. And there's a picture on our page of that. When I tell, I just melted. I went from this grown woman with responsibilities, da da da, to a little girl that had no care in the world. And someone captioned that picture and said, I see the little girl in you get
wow,
receiving what you've needed, which was a hug. So
yeah,
it is great to have that, and whomever your intimate inner circle is, where if you need to just crawl in their lap and lay there or lay on their shoulder and be replenished like that, that's very helpful in being identified as this strong woman, because other people are pulling from you, but you need a place that you can go to so you can be replenished on a consistent basis.
absolutely, absolutely, totally agree, totally agree. Valiant visions, facts. If we want strong women, we can't control where their strength lies. My goodness,
Mm,
but it takes a very wise and mature person to
ooh,
know and understand what you just said, because that is key right there.
absolutely
Because
it is.
we want to see it how we want to see it, and it takes some maturity to get there. So,
Yeah.
but I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you. You are so true, correct. See if we have any others. Uh, Yeah, strong may bend but won't break. Weak falls through in the tower. I was one who was once weak and tried suicide twice, but God was not ready for me. My God, yes, just a hug makes a difference.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I think it goes back to what you said, Latanya, about weak is really just quitting, because that's how I feel about success, about life in itself. It's never over unless you quit. Success just a series of failures that you didn't quit from. You applied those lessons learned from the failures to the next time you tried it. That's all life is, and being successful is. You talk to any millionaire or somebody who's wealthy or who's made it, they will tell you that their life is a summation of failures that they just didn't quit on. I kept trying until I got it back. Kept trying and trying. So it really sums it up, just like what you said, just not quitting. Being weak is when you literally just quit. You throw your hands like, you know what, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. Ultimately leading to suicide and other things. But yeah, absolutely. So I agree with Tano on that. Not giving up. Yeah. For yourself. And I think that's what you've done here with this platform from Soul Pieces, that you're telling and you're showing women, not just telling them, but you're showing women that we're not giving up on you. You're going to always have a resource, always going to have this team or group of women that's going to continue to empower you, and understand that empowerment will sometimes come in the way of challenges. We're going to challenge you, but it's for your good. Trying to get you to another place.
Absolutely. That is something that should be echoed from the mountaintops. I can agree with you and see your purpose. I'm not going to speak to your emotions, and I don't want anybody speaking to mine, because we know they change based on circumstances. Speak to my purpose. My purpose may require that you be firm with me. I've always been the one, because of my background. I'm a little stubborn. I push back. You pushing on me, and I'm going to push back. So I can't have a weak person in my life. You're going to have to challenge me. You're going to have to stand toe to toe with me. And that's not something I'm bragging on. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on the circumstances, that's my character, my personality. But for me, now that God has shown me some things about me and about Soul Pieces, when I meet people, and this turns some people off. I'm not going to address your emotions. I'm going to address your purpose. You might be rough around the edges. And I say this about me all the time. I am rough around the edges. I say this to my church community. I'm somewhat the renegade. I'm in the church choir, and I'm doing a two-step. They're like, remember where you are. Okay, I get it. But because of the background, because of who I am, and then what it is that I've been called to do, I'm going to speak to your purpose. I'm not going to really care too much about your emotions. So if you hang up on me, don't attend your life coach sessions or whatever, I'll be here when you're okay. I'll be here, and we'll carry on like that never happened. I'm okay. And I thank God for that. This is one thing that was revealed to me. God didn't take away my toughness, the street part of me, even that that rough around the edges part of me, because he knew I was going to deal with people that looked and behaved just like me. And I need to know how to deal with them without me being offended. Because if I'm offended and then I turn around and offend you because you're offended, you're not going to get what you need. And then I failed him, because it's not about me. Yes, the hood preacher. It is not about me, for real. This has nothing to do with me. I'm just trying to fulfill a purpose before I get up out of here.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Oh, my goodness, this has been such an enlightening discussion and interview. I want to thank all the viewers and those who tuned in. I see there are quite a few of you. So thank you for joining us for an episode of Meet the Speaker, and getting to know a little bit more about your host, Latanya. Thank you, sis, for joining us. Thank you for agreeing to do this. I think your ladies appreciate this. I know I do. Getting to know a little bit more about you. So thank you for that. Thank you so much. I know we didn't plan to go this long, but look, it was just organic conversation, and here's what we have. So we're almost at an hour now. So I thank you for your time and sharing with us. And I want to say to all of you all who's viewing, please, please, please share and let people know about the upcoming seminar, the Resurgence, taking place in Savannah, Georgia, on January 27th of 2024. So please get the word out there in the city. Let people know what's going on, and to come out and be a part of this amazing community that Latanja has built. Because I'm telling you, we all need it. We all need it. That's one of the reasons why we started our brotherhood thing, the women speakers, because of this. So thank you for to allow us to do that on your platform as well. So sis, before we close, do you have any additional comments for the people?
I just want to first of all thank you for making me comfortable here, because I was nervous and a wreck on the inside initially, but you made me very comfortable. I do appreciate that. I also, for those who are on and those who may watch the replay, this could not happen without women who have like vision. Every woman that has been a part, as far as a panelist on From Soul Pieces to Soul Piece, has just fit like puzzles. We used to use puzzles in the background in our graphics, but the ladies that are coming along with me now, just talking to them personally, they have the same passion about changing, making a change in the women's lives that we see. And so this could not happen without them. This could not happen actually without you guys pushing us as well, because we want to be better for the people whose lives we're going to be a part of. So thank you guys so much. Again, thank you for making me feel comfortable. I really do appreciate that.
Absolutely. Glad to be a part. I know it's going to continue to grow because God gave the vision ultimately. So he's going to bring those people around you that you need to support and build it the way that he's given it to you. So we know that's forthcoming. So we're not even concerned about that piece. But I see I got some more comments before we only have a few minutes left, but I saw some more things in the chat. I want to make sure we address everything before we go. Oh, yeah. Good. I hear you, Tanda. Okay, I think we're all right. Okay. Once again, thank you everybody for joining us. Yes. We appreciate it. Please get the word out. January 27th, Savannah, Georgia, the Resurgence. Oh my goodness, it's going to be amazing. I already know it. Until next time, sis, we love you. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.